Hey everybody, it's SmallgGay. So this is what we did tonight. The fag stag and I went out for a belated birthday. It was my birthday Monday. Thanks everybody. And we were broke and there just wasn't much going on. It was so cold, so we thought we'd wait until later in the week and see TRON 3D. We'd planned on seeing TRON 3D Christmas week, but viewers will know that I was ill, so I wasn't able to do anything. It was so depressing. So we finally got it together to see TRON 3D. I guess it's called TRON Legacy in IMAX 3D. So anyway, we go up to Lincoln Square, which is a fabulous theater. And that IMAX thing's like 4 stories tall, 5 stories tall, something crazy. We're sitting there, we're all excited. We even got to leave work early, which is fabulous. And, we're all psyched like kids and everything. Now, I got to tell you, there's like generational differences. The fag stag is in his 20s. He's a young Tea Party buck who I befriended. And we work together, and we're like best pals. And he's from the generation that takes this kind of crap seriously, I mean, I'm kind of a little bit too old. Like, even when Star Wars came out, I was like 13. And when the Star Wars movies came out, I was a teen. And I took Star Trek more seriously. I'm more of like that first generation of Star Trek fan from the 70s. That's the sci-fi I grew up with. And Planet of the Apes, I loved. Remember those shows? And Logan's Run. And Omega Man and Soylent Green. Those are the sci-fi movies that I took as serious as a heart attack in the 60s and 70s when I was a little kid. So by the time the TRON came out, I was like, this is a Star Wars ripoff. And it was like that game Tempest or something. Remember that game Tempest? I used to love that game. But it was so like Pac-Man, And at the time, there was all this talk about the technology. And I can remember seeing TRON in the theater and barely remembering it. Like, it was just like another Star Wars ripoff that came out in succession. And so, the fag stag, the younger kids and the kids who grew up with it on cable really look at TRON as some kind of religion, They see it as some kind of statement on the internet or something, and I had this like great fondness for it and everything. So, there's definitely a generational thing happening there. So, to make a long story short, I ended up really liking TRON Legacy. And the fag stag was disappointed because I think he was expecting something beyond the beyond. And I thought it was the biggest camp thing I've ever seen. And I have to say, it's the most fetishistic movie. It makes those fetishy Batman movies look like the 700 Club. I mean, they don't have nipples, but they got everything else. And we saw this thing in IMAX 3D, man. There were just like these guys in like tight nylon, like perfect tight nylon cat suits, and chrome and lucite plastic, just ziplocked into all this stuff, and with neon highlights, running around on lucite and with rubber boots and stuff. It was just crazy. It was the most fetishy thing. And then, like, when they take their helmets off, they had these like hair fetish hairstyles, like bleached precision mohawks and stuff, and everybody had eye makeup on. It reminded me of, what was that last movie that I panned, Burlesque? They had the eye makeup from Burlesque. Okay, so maybe I'll tell you a little bit about it. So I was like incredibly entertained because everything was so fetishistic, and everything is like a brand new product. It makes the James Bond movies look Marxist as far as product placement goes, even though the products don't exist. Everything looks like some luxury, high-end, immaculate product that's never been touched. It's the cleanest looking movie you've ever seen in your life. Oh, God. And they were all in our, oh, there's cod pieces too, and they were all in my lap in the 3D. Although parts of it, what is it with this 3D? This is my first 3D movie, I have to confess, of the new 3D. And I was very amazed, especially in the IMAX during the commercials. But Tron itself seemed to be kind of mixed. Like, it didn't seem to be that much in 3D. Although there's some, when it was fabulous. And there's also something about it that when there's like real action, it loses its 3D. And then when it settles down again, the picture takes on 3 dimensions, which is odd. Okay, so this is the story of, it's a sequel to Tron that no one remembers and no one cares, except it was like a good guy going into the video game world, freeing all the people, destroying the Dark Lord, and bringing peace and love to the video game world. Okay, so now he's disappeared, and his son is facing, his son is like basically pro-video piracy, I guess, pro-online piracy or something. And he wants the internet to be free, like Linux. You know, I'm so computer illiterate, so just bear with me. So, and he's like this young buck guy that only exists in movies, you know. He's sort of like he's sort of like the Human Torch, like Johnny Storm, crossed with Track Palin. Track is so fabulous. I love that guy. That kind of like all-American, tall, handsome, all-American guy. But it's kind of like a superhero movie, so he's kind of like really like cocky, you know. In real life, this guy looks like he spends most of his time getting mani-pedis and having highlights put in his hair, you know. But we're supposed to expect that he's this cocky, surefire kid. And his father, Jeff Bridges, who was computer animated, disappeared like in the 80s, and he's running the company now. And he gets a message, Bruce Boxleitner, the Scarecrow and Mrs. King guy, he gets a message coming from the old 80s arcade. It's now covered with cobwebs. And so the young guy, we kept forgetting what his name was, Sam Flynn, I think. So the son of Sam, or whatever his name is, the names were all interchangeable. I forgot all their names. The son goes into the thing, and finds a secret room in the arcade, and then he's zapped by this machine that, of course, sends him off to Tron World. It's like The Wizard of Oz, it's Narnia, it's like all of these movies, Alice in Wonderland, all these movies where they're in the normal world in the beginning and it's boring as hell, and then finally they go to the fantasy world and it gets interesting, okay? The Tron World is now ruled by, well, I'll get to that in a second. When he lands on the Tron World, he's picked up and put in these gravitational boot holders along with a line of male models who have immaculately coiffed hair, eyeliner, and a little white strip on their lower lip. And they're all, I don't know what they call them, programs or whatever. And they're all the disposable drone tidbit megabyte critters, you know. They all look like male models in like 80s club wear, okay? And they're taken off to, they're like on this tiny, there are these giant ships that look like the Washington Square Arch, or Arc de Triomphe, with red neon flying around, and they're just in this tiny little part. You're like wondering, why do they need the Arc de Triomphe with red neon flying all over when the male models being held hostage in Lucite are just like a tiny little strip? But that way, it looks more spectacular. Everything was about how spectacular it could look. And I really liked that about it. I thought that made it camp, that it was so over-designed. And so then they land, and he becomes a gladiator-type guy. And these robots that all look like Lady Gaga, or it's like Barbie meets the Terminator girls, come out of the walls and take all of his clothes off, and then the clothes are sucked into a vacuum cleaner, except for his underwear, which I thought was puritanical. And then computer-animated clothes appear on him, and he's snapped into his new Ziploc rubber and chrome and lucite ensemble. And then he has to fight another chrome lucite man, and they fight several. And then finally he finds out that Jeff Bridges is in charge of it. But he's like all flipped out because it's like that's his dad, except Jeff Bridges looks like a Final Fantasy 2000, like the year 2000 level of animation. And, well, to make a long story short, he teams up with like the good Jeff Bridges and this girl, and they fight like a rebellion. And there's like a club scene, an 80s club scene, with this gay guy. And at first I thought like, oh wow, Disney's got a gay guy in a sci-fi. And he's going to be one of the good guys, but it turns out he's one of the bad guys. So they didn't go that far. But it was just like endless flashing neon color action scenes that made no sense, but were really fun to look at. But whenever they would move, the 3D would disappear. But I still really liked it, except I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and the movie was like 3 hours long. And Jeff Bridges, man. It was like he was just ad-libbing, like all of his like hippie Californian Buddhist crap. It was like flaky, and he would rattle on. And there was one point where they're like on a flying like fluorescent light fixture, headed up to a computer animated ray of light in the sky, and they just had this long conversation about what life was like in the Tron world, what life is like on planet Earth. Where did the Tron girl come from? Where are her people from? What are her feelings? And this, and what is the meaning of the universe? And this sequence lasts about 25 minutes for no apparent reason. And I'm just letting you know it's a great time to go to the bathroom because I was about dying. So as soon as they get on the flying fluorescent light fixture, head to the toilet, you'll be fine. Overall, I thought it was fantastic, but I have to tell you, the fag was not thrilled that I found his dream boy picture sexy. But there you have it. SmallgGay, Tron Legacy. If you like helmets and cat suits on men, it's terrific. Signing out.